Now that he's heading back down here, I'm just going to ask him to trot. Now you might notice most of the time I've been hanging onto this saddle horn. I'm not hanging onto the saddle horn because I'm worried about falling off. I'm hanging on the saddle horn because I want to make sure if something silly happens, I don't pull in his head. You might notice up until this point in time, well, I haven't really touched his head much, but like in the teaching him to steer and stuff, every time I touch his head, I expect something to happen, and when it's finished happening, I let go. Okay, so I really want to preserve, I'll ask him to trot here. I really want to preserve that, you know, that feel on his head. So, you know, the reins are not for keeping me in the saddle, the horn's for keeping me in the saddle. The reins are for communicating with him. And I really like this right here. It's a nice forward trot, so it's not almost a walk, and it's not almost a canter, it's just a trot. And like I said, I don't really care where he goes at this point in time. Right here, because even though over there's the gate, the barn's actually over there, so he'll start probably wanting to hang out over here after a bit. Anyway, so this is his first ride outside the big arena, and see how straight he's going down this way away from that end of the arena. If I hadn't have just done that little thing at the gate down there and gotten rid of that wannabe by the gate, I wouldn't have this forwardness or straightness coming down here. And you can see he's pretty even with his stride going in both directions. If they're really excited about being on this end of the so now I'm just going to ask him to canter. I don't really care where he goes. He's going to go off to the right here. I don't really care where he goes as long as he canters. And if he breaks to a trot, no big deal. I'll just ease him back up into the canter again. I'm not trying to steer him right now because I don't want to be trying to get two things at once happening. I want to make it easy for him to go forward. So I'm not trying to regulate his speed and I'm not trying to regulate his direction, because otherwise, if you have a look at this, I've picked up a right lead and I've picked up a left lead. I have not asked for either of those leads. When I ask him to canter, I just want him to canter. I don't care what lead he gets. But if he's nice and balanced, he will get the correct lead. Picks up the left lead because he's going around to the left. If he heads off across this way like he did a minute ago, and then he decides to go off to the right, he'll probably break to a trot over here somewhere. Then pick up the other lead. Okay, so we can get both leads. Not because I asked for him, but because he's kind of balanced and I'm not trying to force him to go somewhere he doesn't want to go. You know, right here, he's probably going to break to a trot because he's feeling uncomfortable. And then he picks up that left lead. And down this end here again, he'll probably, going around this corner, there's a chance he'll break to a trot. Might not, because he's going pretty forward right now. Okay, he crossed lead, so he's going to break to a trot. Now he's going to pick up a left lead because he went off to the left. The important part of this whole ride has been the first thing I did with him over in that gate. That is the thing that made all this nice and forward and relaxed, is the fact that he's not just trying to drag me back to that gate. He's heading over there now. See, he didn't go all the way. And there we go. See there, he's just loped a nice big little circle to the left here. I haven't steered him at all. But see how cadenced this is? just cantering around. Looks like he's been doing it for years. You know, I've been to clinics, many clinics. None of the horses in the clinic could look like this right here. So I'm just going to sit still and let him slow down and stop somewhere. Usually riding horses outside for the first time, I don't ever ask them to stop. Once we get cantering, I hadn't even got to the steering point then, but once they get cantering, I just steer them here and steer them there, steer them here, and eventually they kind of go, I'd like to find a place to stop. So I slow him down, and I haven't tried to do a lot to him going forward, but after a while they're like, okay, I've had enough of that, and they just come to a stop. Many times at clinics I've had people try to do this with their horses, excuse me, and those horses have never been turned loose in their life, and the first thing I want to do is run off and buck and carry on, because I'm free, I've never been free before. You know, I've always been pretty free with him like that. So we've had our first ride outside on this horse. I've just done the first part of the first ride where we don't steer them at all. Now I'm going to start steering him because he's carrying me around all over the place. He's going forward well. He's not worried about things. He's not ducking off here and ducking off there. And just like when we, just like in the round pen when I first started teaching him to steer, first I wanted him to go forward, then I started teaching him to steer in a direction he was already thinking about going in, and then eventually I started teaching him to steer in a direction he wasn't thinking of going in. Okay, so, excuse me. So I'm just going to ask him to go, and at the walk here, I'm just going to make sure that my steering still works good. There we go. So, first ride outside in the big arena, if I touch this rein with one finger, he should just bend his head and turn over there. If I touch this rein with this finger, you just bend his head, turn over there. Perfect. So now I'm going to start steering him. I'm going to trot. I'd rather him go more forward when I steer. So what I'm going to do now is every time he makes a directional change on his own, like right now he's heading towards that corner and he just went that way, I'm going to pick up here and steer him across there. I'm going to let go right there. That's where he was pointing. He's still going there, and he's still going there, and he's still going there, and right now he starts to go to the right and I'm off to the left. Turn loose. He's pointing towards that corner. Now he's ducked off over here, so I'm going to steer him over to the left again. He's pointing towards the camera. Oop. Now he's pointing down here, so I'm going to steer him off over that way. Turn loose. This is eventually how you teach a horse to go straight. Every time they go over to the right, you steer them over to the left. Every time they go over to the left, you steer them over to the right. And after a while, they just learn to track forward and straight, kind of like he is right there underneath me. You know, this horse is going to be a jumping horse. But he's a Warmblood. Could be a dressage horse. What's the first thing that dressage people want their horses to do? They want them to go forward and straight. He's getting a little wobbly right here, right now. You know, can you see that? He's pulling over this way. He's wanting to go over to this corner. So, what am I going to do? I'm going to let this corner, because whatever he's wanting to come over here and thinking this is a good place, it's going to affect my steering like you just saw right there. As soon as I get an inkling that he wants to be somewhere, I'm going to come over here and make this place not a whole lot of fun. I may even tap on him with this rein right here. See right there, he's looking for a place to get out of it, but I want him to go, oops, I want him to go down, I don't want him to go along that fence. Right there, I'll let him out of it. So he's thinking about coming back to some more. So what I might do right now is make this whole end of the arena right here about, I just started working on steering, and it was just starting to affect my steering. I don't really want it to affect my steering. There we go. See, he's trying to pull away from there and says, forget that, I don't like that. Now there we go. See, now he's now forward and straight. He wasn't being very forward and straight a second ago. And he went to turn down there, and you see what he just did? He went, nah, I don't think so. Now the reason he started doing that is because up till this point in time, out here I hadn't been steering him, so there was no pressure involved here. Then I started steering him. Then he started thinking, well, heck, if If you're going to pull on, I thought this was the safe place out here. If you're going to start pulling on me a little bit out here, I may as well go over there. The difference between out here and over there is when he goes over there, there is no relief. Right there, there's release from pressure. But see, he keeps ducking off over here. He's decided not to. He's ducking around that way. I might just steer him all the way up this way. So just like when I first started teaching him to steer in the round pen, I didn't have an idea of where I wanted to go. I wasn't trying to go anywhere particular, I was just trying to teach him to steer. So what I'm trying to teach him to do now is not to make decisions on his own. Every time he goes over to the right, I'll steer him over to the left. Every time he decides to go over to the left, I'll steer him over to the right. And after a while, I mean, this teaches them so many things. I'll just let him come to a stop here. This teaches them so many things. It teaches them to pay attention. They really get to where their ears flick back and forth and really focus on you. If they look over there, you steer them over there. If they go over there, you steer them over there. And after a while, they're kind of like, which direction are we going to go in? That's one thing it does for you. Another thing it does for you, it teaches them to steer really well, because you might notice, I'll have him go again. You might notice when I'm walking around, the only time I touch this rein is when I want to turn right. And I don't let go till he turns right, and then I'll let go. As opposed to the way a lot of people might ride a young horse, and I'm only going to do this once just to show you what they do. So we're walking. Let's wait for him to duck off somewhere. So see, he's ducking around to the right, so they do this just to hold him straight, to stop him from ducking to the right. And now that he's no longer ducking to it, he's still trying to duck, and now he's no longer ducking to the right, they let go. So I just told this horse, if I take my hands and put my left hand this far out to the left, all it means is don't go right. It doesn't mean go left. Does that make sense? That's what I see a lot of people doing, is they're stopping their horse from doing things instead of asking them to do things. For instance, if he's walking along here and starts to drift off to the left, instead of going, don't go left, I'm going to say, can you go right? Then I'm going to let go. Does that make sense to you? It really makes it really clear that if you touch one rein or the other, that you want them to go that way. There is never you're just blocking them from going that way. Anyway, that's probably a pretty good first ride for him outside. I was quite happy with that. But that right there can show you what preparation can do for you. Like I said, this horse has not been easy up to this point in time, but all the hard stuff was on the ground. The riding part looks like he's going to be just really good at, you know, nice and forward and relaxed, which is exactly what you want them all to do. So anyway, hope that helps. See you guys next time.